Welcome back to Cactus Wrestling. Hit that like button and subscribe. Comment down below. Share with your friends, families, teammates, and everyone interested in the sport of wrestling. Today, we have a fun topic, cutting weight, and specifically how it sucks. And I was making this joke to you guys. I was like, cutting weight sucks or sucking weight cuts? I don't know. Dumb. Boo.
Workshop it, workshop it.
Boo.
Stand.
Anyway, so there's a lot of debate in wrestling. Obviously, we see it a lot at the high school level where guys they want to cut ridiculous amounts of weight to get a competitive advantage because they're just sizably bigger than their competition. But the downside to that is that a lot of guys don't do it correctly and they ended up wrestling at maybe 60% of their energy capacity because they're sucking too much weight. So at what point does it become a deterrent rather than an advantage? And so we're just going to talk about some examples of guys that we think perhaps have cut too much weight. And we saw that, we've seen negative impacts in their wrestling. And the opposite of that, where guys go up a weight class and maybe they perform a little bit better. So,
Yeah.
Kick it off
yeah,
to,
I mean,
to one
this
of the
is all
mics
just
here.
our speculation. I mean, only the these people that we use as examples could confirm or deny. But the first person that I want to throw out there is Zaheed Valencia, wrestling at 86 kilograms at the U.S. Open versus wrestling 92 kilograms at the World Team Challenge Tournament. I mean, he did have pretty he won 8-0 and then was winning 8-0 when he pinned. He got a tech. He won 7-2, 8-3, and then in the finals he was winning 6-0 before I mean, I would argue he gassed, like he just ran out of steam, and Brooks was able to then score 10 unanswered points. And then a few weeks later, he decides he wants to move up a weight class to 92, and he goes out there and he wins 6-2 against McIntosh, techs Sloan 12-1, and then techs Colin Moore 12-1. And honestly, he looked untouchable at 92 against Moore, who's the top guy expected to make Final X. Like, especially after Jaden Cox announced that he was moving up, I think everyone was expecting Colin Moore was going to be at Final X. I mean, it was going to be like he was a shoo-in for it. And I mean, he took second at the U.S. Open and second at the Challenge Tournament. And I think that those 7 extra kilos or 6 extra kilos that Zaheed got benefited him greatly. I feel like he had a lot more energy and like he was able to just maintain a really high level pace that these other guys couldn't handle. And I mean, you think, oh, he's moving up a weight, he's going to have a harder time, moving these guys that are bigger and whatnot. And that clearly was not the case. He was just as, if not more dominant. And like, I think that him cutting down to 86, I think may have been what helped contribute to him losing to Brooks and him gassing in that finals match.
I agree. I think Zaheed, and I've talked about this before, is he's so tall. He looks like such a long wrestler. And then you look at his weight and you're like, wait, that's all he weighs? And not to say like 79 when he was 79 or even when he was 174, wasn't, a heavy person. It's just like, wow, like, think about your average person now. I mean, I know guys that are 5'9", weigh well over 180 pounds. It's crazy that Zaheed, who's 6 feet plus, was wrestling as low as 174 in the seniors at one point before even going to 180 to 86 kilo, which is still not a ton of weight.
Yeah.
I think him at 92, we're going to see a whole different person where he could really continue to attack with his offense. And we saw that. I mean, Zaheed loves to do this kind of like stall tactic where he sits down and he kind of sits on his knees, and he's, you can't push him, you can't move him, and he's long, you can't score on him. And he does this a lot if you watch a lot of his matches to kind of catch his breath and okay, what am I going to do next? Okay, they'll call like a stalemate position to put us both back up. Perfect. And then you have a guy like Aaron Brooks that was just like, I'm going to keep coming with that underhook and force you to stay up on your feet and force you to stay tall and actually wrestle me. And we saw him break. I think him going to 92 kilos we see this whole like, wow, like I'm super refreshed. I have all this extra energy because I'm not cutting down as much. Even if I'm a small 92, it's better than being a huge 86 that's cutting, all this weight just to make the weight class. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always said to guys like making weight is the least important part of the sport. It doesn't matter if you make weight if you can't perform at that weight. So tons of guys, and I'm sure Mike and Jack can speak to this, do all these crazy weight cutting techniques just to be like, thank God I made 103 back when it was high school 103, and then they go 0-2 at states. They go, well, at least I made the weight. There was no
Oh
one cares.
yeah, I had
Right.
a teammate. We would always bash on him because he'd go in, weigh in, and then he didn't move. He had no energy whatsoever. And we go, what did you eat for dinner last night? And he says, 6 cashews. And we're like, what are you doing? Like, you are useless to us. If you
Right.
were at a higher weight and you didn't worry about the cutting weight, then
6 cashews.
yeah, six cashews. So I totally agree. And in terms of collegiate, I'm just going to throw out two names that, these were guys that went up weight classes, and they're kind of on record saying like, I want to focus on my wrestling. I don't want to focus on my weight. First one is Bo Nickel, who, two-time national champion at 184, bumps up to 197. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
He weighed it at like 191 or 192 at the I think it was 2019 NCAA tournament, and he won. He beat Colin Moore, and he weighed like 190. And he said, "I just want to focus on my wrestling. I want to be a better wrestler. I don't really care about what weight class I'm at." And I think that's the right approach to have. If
Yeah.
you're a good wrestler, it shouldn't really matter what weight class you are. You should be able to wrestle your own body weight and size and perform at an elite level. Maybe that's an extreme example. Not everyone's going to be a national champion, but another guy is Kyle Dake, who obviously went up 4 weight classes in his 4 years, and he could have easily just stayed and cut and stayed at 149 or 157, but he went up every year, and arguably he sought out harder competition in doing so. But when you are wrestling at 100% energy, there's nothing else like it. It actually makes the sport enjoyable. Like we always talk to guys like, what's the number one gripe that you have with wrestling? And it's cutting weight. That's always the number
Yeah.
one. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to worry about it. They worry about the eating disorders and all these false connotations. But it gets a bad rap sometimes because some people give it a bad rap. So those are
Something
just two
off of what you
examples.
just said too. To bring it back to Zaheed, is Zaheed at 174 his freshman year didn't win a national title, but then when he moved up a weight, he won a national title, and then he did it again the following year. Like, and then so like, I mean, maybe that weight cut was a little too much. I mean, then again, I also argue that the call that cost him the match against Mark Hall was a little questionable. That Mark Hall got to that point, but still, I think the weight definitely played a factor as well.
I think going back to what Jack was saying, I think about Kyle Dake's final national championship. Kyle Dake coming up again for his 4th weight class, wrestling David Taylor, who's kind of cutting down. And we can see that Dake looked good. Obviously, David Taylor did look gassed.
Right.
But again, you just talk about seeking a challenge. And even David Taylor talks about this now that he's wrestling up at 86 kilo, is he wrestled in high school like 103. This is a dude that's gained gets gained roughly 90 pounds in
Wow.
his since entering the senior national. If you remember back to when Kyle Dake and David Taylor were trying to make world teams originally once they were post colleges, you had Kyle Dake up as high as 86 kilo, wrestling against Jaden Cox. I mean, you had Kyle Dake down from 74 to 79 to 86, wrestling all in those weight classes. Same thing with David Taylor. It's like these guys weren't able to, both were trying to knock off Burroughs at 74, and what did they do? They went up. Kyle Dake to 79, David Taylor to 86. Granted, we've seen Dake flip, and how did that play out at the Olympics in 2020, 2021? He gassed. I mean, I remember watching it and being like, what is going on with Kyle Dake?
Right.
He is losing to a guy that he's beaten every time.
Yeah.
And he just looked tired and slow. And you got to think, well, when people think, oh, well, 79 versus 74 kilos, it's only, 5 kilos. It goes, well, that's like 12 pounds, man.
Yeah.
Like and this is a guy that's already a lean 79-kilo guy. Um, on the same topic, Cornell, I want to talk about Vito.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
Vito was an incredible high school wrestler. He was, if I remember, like 216-1. There's one loss coming. You know who his one loss was to? Yanni Diakomahalis.
Future teammate.
And then people say, well, what the heck? Yanni is so big. Vito was wrestling 138 as a senior. He was expected to be a 141 as a freshman in college. And they go, nah, go 25. And he's like, I don't know if I can make that. Like, yeah, of course you can, dude. It's 15 pounds. Come on.
Nothing.
And how did we see that play out? Vito was a good wrestler, but he was never this guy that he is now.
No, yeah, he was never in the conversation to win a national title at 125.
Vito
Never.
should have probably been 133, 61 kilos his whole career. I mean, 138 to 133 is not terrible. Senior year, dropping down a little bit. But most guys from their senior year to their of high school to their senior year of college grow. So you might say, okay, I'm a 120 senior in high school, and I'm projected to be a 125 in college, maybe even a 133 at the end of my career.
Yeah.
Most people don't cut down 15 pounds when they're 18.
Yeah, that's true.
And we saw it for years. Vito was gassing out. He wasn't able to, showcase his skills. And the first time that he's really up at 61, goes up to 133, knocks off RBY, runs through the field at 61 kilos.
Yeah.
Just, a perfect example of, hey, like weight cutting, you were still a very good wrestler. You were still, all-American level, made Final X against Gilman. But this 61-kilo Vito we're seeing now is a guy that's like, he could win a world championship.
Yeah, he's looking untouchable, especially like at NCAAs this year. Like he majored Dayton Fix, which was just like mind blowing, and then he almost majored RBY. It was just like, who is this guy? Because like the year before, he got majored by Pat Glory at NCAA. So it's like, what? How is that even possible? That's the same guy.
And that was at EIWA's. Vito beat Glory like 11-9 or something.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show NCAA's is a multi-day tournament. You have to maintain that weight class several days, and he wasn't able to do it. Vis-a-vis, weight cutting became an issue.
Yeah, and I mean, he's so much happier. Just seems so much more energized up at a weight.
Yeah, I mean, he ran through the U.S. Open. He teched 9-2, 8-3 tech in under a minute. Like he just seems on another playing field now that he's moved up to the 133 or the 61 kilograms. Like it's unreal that it's the same guy. Because like when he was at 25, it was just like, yeah, he's good, but I mean, I don't think he'll ever win a title or anything. And then in dominant fashion, and like how do you go from that to that? Like it's unreal to think about.
Back in like 2019, maybe it was a little bit after, with Braxton Amos. I was super high in the Braxton Amos train. It was actually his 2021 when he made the finals for Junior Worlds in freestyle and I believe in Greco.
That's not easy to do.
No,
like
it's not easy at all. But everyone says, well, why isn't he having this kind of success in college? Okay, well, what weight did he wrestle? Oh, 97 kilo. That's what, 214-ish?
Yeah.
And then they say, okay, cut down to wrestle 197. You say, okay, I just have to lose 20 pounds.
That's all.
And again, a guy that's had incredible, and granted, not freestyle and Greco don't always translate to folk style, but freestyle translates pretty dang good. And this is a guy that, again, wasn't just like, oh, he was good at freestyle. He was good at Greco. He was a world champion, a world finalist. So at Wisconsin, where Braxton Amos wrestles, he was behind, I guess not really behind, but Trent Hilger was their heavyweight. And to, best fit for the team means he goes 197. And I know Mike had the results up, but has anyone ever heard of Braxton Amos at the NCAAs? Not really.
Yeah, combined record of 1-4.
Exactly, in the last 2 years. I mean,
granted, an injury happened, but still.
Yeah, but still. This is a guy that based off his international credentials, should be kind of tearing it up. And I just think sucking down 20 pounds, even if he's an upperweight guy, is still not going to help him. He's not able to use his strength, not able to use his power, not able to use his endurance. He's just making the weight to make the weight.
Yep.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Braxton Amos goes up to 285 this coming year for the folk style season as a Kyle Snyder kind of small 285. And
yeah, he probably will find more success though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look what we saw with Kyle Snyder. He was wrestling at 97 kilos and weighing in around 230 to wrestle folk style, and he beat Adam Kuhn, beat Nick Gwiazdowski.
Adam Kuhn's a mountain of a heavyweight too.
Yeah.
So
beat Nick Gwiazdowski, a multiple-time national champion, multiple-time world medalist.
And he broke him. Like Gwiz kind of gassed out in that finals match. So like in the overtime. So
I wouldn't be surprised to see Braxton Amos make that move as well, where he just says, I want to be a successful NCAA wrestler as well. And cutting down 20 pounds to put on the 20 pounds for Worlds and Olympics, to cutting down the 20 pounds for folk style season, to putting on the 20 pounds. It's this back and forth yo-yoing that how does it end up? With injuries. Has the injury default out of the national championship.
And I mean, and another guy that we haven't mentioned that he's got to be cutting a ton of weight is Sammy Sasso. I mean, he made, what was it? 70 kilograms at the U.S. Open, which is only 5 more pounds, but he looked like he was just like floating, like he was just like moving so well. I mean, I thought he was going to win the finals, and I was going to be like floored by it, especially after, NCAAs. He had that close matchup with Yaya Thomas, and then Yanni beats him in the close match 4-2. Like, it just seems like Sasso is a guy that like runs out of energy in his matches, even when he ends up winning them. Like, he just seems like he's always tired, or like it's like he runs out of energy. But like at the U.S. Open, it just seemed like he was like all over the place and was able to just keep on scoring and keep on pressing, and then Tyler Berger was able to snatch the the victory right from him.
Yeah,
but
I mean, Sammy Sasso was this close to having the wrestle off against Zane Rutherford.
Yeah.
This close. And like you said, granted, it was only a few more pounds, but it makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
So some guys out there that are watching this might know that Sammy Sasso has a younger brother that's one of the top wrestlers in high school. How much does he think he weighs? A lot of people are like, oh, he's probably like, Sammy Sasso size, 149,
160, 170.
He's 220.
Oh.
And he's the same build.
Yeah.
And he's one of the top guys in the nation, and multiple-time Pennsylvania State medalist. Sasso is doing what's best for the team and Ohio State, and that's noble and that's commendable. But I think the staff doesn't have him in the best position to be successful for himself. Sasso will always be an All-American because he's just so talented.
Yeah.
But if he keeps maintaining and cutting this much weight, he'll probably never reach the national championship goals that he has for himself coming out of high school.
I was going to say, do we think he's going to bump up to 157 for his final shot? I mean, he's the returning guy.
I think that I wouldn't be surprised to see kind of a David Carr situation where he was like, look, I was cutting a lot, David Carr from 57 to 65, and I want to go up and do just, incredibly well. I think that Levi Haynes right now, favorite at 157 because of Austin O'Connor's graduation. And I think if Sasso comes up as a Penn State guy, I'm like, dang, that sucks. Because I think that I think about it like this. Austin Gomez at the All-Star Championship meet, whatever you want to call it, the All-Star duel, he was down tremendously to Sasso. And Sasso gassed so hard at 149.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's where he got like
3 takedowns.
10 points.
Three or four takedowns in under 30 seconds.
Right.
I mean, that's a national finalist that he's doing that to. That's not supposed to happen ever, no matter how tired you get.
Yeah. Yeah. That shouldn't be possible.
Yeah. And I think that like people joke about it, it's the same thing that people joke about Dayton Fix taking second, is that Sammy Sasso will cut too much and blow it. And I think that it would be smart of him and the Ohio State program to allow him to go up and say, hey, this would probably be a better fit because, my God, the dude is technically a great wrestler.
Yeah.
He just can't push himself because he will gas out. He doesn't have the gas tank for it.
Yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him at 74 kilos at one point and at 157, maybe even 165 for his last year of college, if they want to do things, right by him.
Well, I think the bottom line, what we're trying to get across here is that cutting weight is I mean, it sucks. It sucks. It's not. It's a big deterrent to the sport. It gives it a bad name, and I think in a lot of cases we see it be a detriment to some of the top wrestlers in the sport. So if you're a wrestler out there and you're still competing, think twice before you decide what weight class you want to go and how much you're cutting. A lot of the examples that we just gave should show you some of that. But leave some comments down below. We'd love to hear from you what your thoughts are on cutting weight, and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and drop us a comment.
Thanks for watching. We are Cactus Wrestling, and we'll see you next time on our next video.